the very fundamental effect is the vibration essentially at the physics, at the very basics level, moves air in and out of the cavity. And the reason we choose resonance is that's the appropriate set of frequencies that are able to move air quickly and fast. That way you get quick relief.
Omega-3s lower all of the major risk factors of cardiovascular disease. That includes high blood pressure because they relax arterial muscle tone. They make platelets less sticky, so you're less likely to get a clot in an artery. So those are risk factors for cardiovascular disease, all better.
From doing chemo and radiation, you get buildup of these senescent cells. There's evidence out there, scientific evidence, that transpires because you're wiping out cells, good cells in your body. And that transpires. How do we flush that out and give the system its own innate ability to heal? That's the neat stuff that we're working on for many years.
This is Vibe Science, a top 100 wellness podcast presented by the Radcast Network, breaking wellness barriers and making health truly personal. Here's your host, Ryan Alford.
You get the connections, like anyway, you're kind of plugged in your ears and your nose, your sinuses are all connected. And so like
Correct.
You kind of fundamentally
Correct.
understand that, but to think that sound alone can clear out the nasal, it's just fascinating. I want you to talk to me a little bit about how that happens. I'm sure we could talk an hour about that, but maybe the simple terms
questions.
of what that sound is doing that sort of creates the clearance in that. Yeah. And then I have to say this, Doc. Here we go. I have to say this, Doc. The proctologist's comment on the FDA, that was the nicest way I've ever heard someone say what I think you said. And I am going to use that in my conversations. That's the most polite way I've ever said. Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah. I'll let everyone will connect the dots on that, but I couldn't let that slide. That was awesome.
Yeah, that's my. I'm in California, and that's a very refined way of saying what you already know, right?
Yes.
There you go. Here's I always use this. This is my favorite desktop vase, but it's a nice model of a sinus. A sinus looks like a pear-shaped vase, which is hollow in your head. And so you asked a really good question, which is how does the sound help? So the most important thing is we are using sound as direct bone conducted vibration. So if you look at the Sonu band, I can show you a couple of slides. I'll actually send you some slides that you can use if you want. We have a really nice demo which shows you a bottle or a vase, a solid object. The solid object has basically a volume and a neck. And so this solid object is like a musical instrument. I can blow on it and you can hear a sound. So that's the resonant frequency. That's the frequency which if I vibrate this object with that frequency, I can move the air, which is why you hear the sound when I blow across its neck. Therefore, if I have this solid object, imagine this is in your head, your sinus, and if I vibrate it at the appropriate frequencies, which I can determine if I can actually understand its shape, which is why I do your facial scan, then I am actually vibrating. I'm transferring vibratory sound energy into the air inside this object. And that starts to move. If I'm blocked here, let's say there's a piece of mucus or a viscoelastic obstruction to this, it moves it out. So the very fundamental effect is the vibration essentially at the physics, at the very basics level, moves air in and out of the cavity, number one. And the reason we choose resonance is that's the appropriate set of frequencies that are able to move air quickly and fast. That way you get quick relief, right? The next piece of it is very, very important. Vibration causes vasoconstriction. Surgeons have known this, people have known this forever, because essentially what it does is it shakes the autonomic nervous system, which we're stimulating because behind your eyes lies the control center for your entire nasal cavity. It's called the sphenopalatine or the pterygopalatine ganglion. And that controls your entire nasal cavity. So when we vibrate that, then we induce vasoconstriction. We actually reduce swelling in the turbinates. And we do one other thing. We make the little hairs in your nose that are constantly sweeping gunk out start to regain their momentum. So we're affecting the physics and the biomechanics of the nose in a very unobtrusive, non-pharma way. That's how it works, right?
I love that. I mean, it's truly innovative. And once you explain it, doctor, it makes sense to me. I mean, I can visualize. I love the diagrams and the bottle and the noise and everything like that. Talk to me, doctor. My wife suffers from a lot of nasal, problems like that. She'll get sinus infections seemingly 3-4 times a year. So we need to get one of these, number one. Number two, but but when she has a sinus infection, she does have, and it sounds like you may have had this yourself, doesn't feel good. Like it feels like she's just sick. Yeah, she's got congestion, but she just feels bad. Is this helping with that as well?
Yeah, so that's it. So I think you touched on something important. So our trial was 2 weeks. And this is important because we actually replicated the first pharmaceutical trials for intranasal corticosteroids in 2009. That's what the FDA wanted us to do. So we did a 2-week trial, and we randomized people to get either their resonant frequency based on the shape of their sinus, or a non-resonant frequency, just sounds that were intermittent. And you asked about the efficacy. So we showed that the people with the resonant frequency over time improved. So 2 weeks later, their nasal symptoms dropped by almost 50%. And we actually have endoscopic evidence. I'm happy to send you videos that show you the cavity changing. So coming back to your wife's question, sinus infections suck because they basically, ultimately there's inflammation and your nasal cavity gets blocked. So you can't breathe through your nose. If you don't breathe through your nose, you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain. If you're not getting enough oxygen to your brain, you're usually feeling fatigued. You're usually feeling foggy. More importantly, what it does is if you block your sinuses, and this is a Nobel Prize winning discovery that scientists made in 1991, I believe, you are killing the nitric oxide production in your body. The nitric oxide molecule is the most important molecule for respiratory health, immune health, and making sure that your entire respiratory system is carrying oxygen appropriately to all the parts of your body to energize your body, right? So when you get a sinus infection or a nasal cavity blockage, you essentially are shutting down the natural immune system of the body, number one. Number two, you're letting all of the bacteria propagate and actually do their bad thing. And over time, what ends up happening is if you use steroids or if you use chemicals, you're counteracting the wellness principle, right? In our case, we're using, a very precise mechanical vibroacoustic stimulus to keep the cavity open. And that's how we continue to help people. And by the way, there's no adverse effects. We've done now over 10 studies. We've got, I think, 7,000 people on it. And we've done real world studies that are published, with hundreds of people at scale. And, at most people say it doesn't work for me. We have an 80% response rate to this device and treatment, right? So, wow. I think to your question, any blockage of the nose or pressure in the actual sinonasal cavity is very obviously very painful, very, 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 very discernible. But the long-term effects are really, really bad. If you stop breathing through your nose, you eventually will actually lead to a cascade of effects that affect you, which is why we're now working with kids. We just got our FDA indication for kids down to 12. And that's a big one because the FDA wanted us to run the same study for adults on kids. And the kids stuff is that's why, this is a very personal thing for me. I don't want to ever have my kids use intranasal steroids, right?
Yeah, no kidding. What about, cardiovascular disease and, oils have always gotten, I think, a bad rap for, thrown in there with clogging your arteries.
So omega-3s lower all of the major risk factors of cardiovascular disease. That includes high blood pressure because they relax arterial muscle tone. They make platelets less sticky, so you're less likely to get a clot in an artery. They decrease CRP, C-reactive protein, which is a measure of inflammation. What else? They lower triglycerides, which are the blood fats. So those are 4 of the major risk factors for cardiovascular disease. All better.
So that's another myth bust.
Yeah, another myth busted. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Because I feel like it's
But if they're like hard fats will make your platelets more sticky.
Okay.
So there are some hard fats, and if they're damaged, then they cause inflammation. So if they're damaged or they're hard fats, or you're not getting enough omega-3, omega-6 in the right ratio, then then that can cause you some cardiovascular problems. So you got to do it right. But guess what? Everything's like that. If you do it right, it works. If you do it wrong, you get screwed. Right?
Yeah. So I'm going to throw this at you because you talked about raw meat.
Okay, I'm going to duck.
I'm not eating raw chicken.
No, you're not eating raw chicken?
Yeah, I'm not eating raw chicken. So
Okay.
How do we cook chicken healthy?
Well, there are lots of people who get the chicken breasts and they steam them.
Okay. So steaming. How about open flame? Open flame with no oil. Still, that charring is bad for you?
Yeah, the charred stuff is toxic.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows that. Barbecue is toxic, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you barbecue your meat and then cut the burnt part off, the meat inside is actually steamed because it's wet, right? Like if you make bread, the crust is burnt.
Yep.
Inside is steamed because it's wet. You can't burn it if it's wet. So the best thing to do, you cut the crust off your bread and just eat the inside. Right? Kids do that sometimes.
Yeah. My son, my 9-year-old, back to him. He always wants the crust cut off.
Yeah, and he's actually smart. See, you need to listen to your children more.
Uncrustables. So Uncrustables are healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is that the kids do that, and I don't know why they know, but then the parents say, no, the crust is the best part. It's not. The kid's right, parents wrong.
Wow. That's a myth busted right there.
Yeah.
Because I remember my mom saying that. That crust is good for you.
Next question you asked is nothing sacred?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing is sacred. Udo, can we not buy your stuff? Can you buy it online, or does it have to be refrigerated? And it's got to be in the store.
You can get it off Amazon, but I always recommend go to the stores. It's in the fridge. I don't know what Amazon does. I'm not saying they're not. I don't know what they do. Yeah. And then and then they have it, and it's cool, and then you take it home and you put it in the fridge, and you're gonna And I'm a country bumpkin, so I like to support the local people who run your local businesses.
Yeah, I like that too. I was more just curious for our audience if they didn't have it locally.
If they don't have it locally, they can get it from Amazon.
Yeah. As we close out here, our talks about oil, is there anything else that maybe, as part of your, you've done this for a long time. What are we leaving out that our audience could learn from?
I think we pretty much covered the basics.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I look forward to having you back to talk about your broader health discovery. Total health, mind, body. Yeah. It really gets into the total mind, body, energy realm.
Yeah, mind and body, that's 2 of them, but there's actually 10 of them, 10 parts.
Yes, the 10, the 10. Doctor, I want to get into some specifics of ReHealth and ReStem, like other things you guys are doing, but maybe for the audience too, I don't like to go to hypotheticals, but what do you see happening, for people in their 30s and 40s? So let's call it short of an accident or an unexpected help. What's going to happen in our lifetime that's going to just be amazing for all of this type of regenerative stuff? I mean, are we close to unlock? I read these things, you see these things, and it's hard to know what's sensationalized and what's real. I mean, are we knocking on the doorstep of unlocking 30 more years of life?
We're in your lifetime, you will see this. I'm confident you will see this. Possibly in my lifetime too. I mean, I'm 6 years old. Possibly in my lifetime, we will see this too. That quality of life will improve significantly. People will live much longer. The majority of stuff that you see online, if you dig deep, this is stuff that, we cured blindness, and it's in a mouse. Let me tell you, I'm a scientist, worked on a bunch of different animal models, mouse models, rat models. We cure in science. Unfortunately, we learn a lot from this. We cure every disease. I mean, we went from, mice with traumatic brain injury to, being completely functional, not being able to walk, being completely functional. When you try to translate this, we're not mice. Less than 5% of the stuff that happens in research doesn't translate into the human condition. It's a small percentage of stuff that actually translates into the human condition. People always have all these crazy findings, but translating that from a mouse to a human being is a different animal. And the years and the research involved in it, because number one is you have to make sure it's safe. Number two is there's some true efficacy there versus a placebo, because the placebo effect is real. I mean, you can discuss the placebo effect on a daily basis with anybody, and it's 100% real. And I'm a true believer of placebo. I mean, I see it with my mom. My mom will call me in the morning, 85-year-old woman, not feeling well, and I'll say, "Mom, did you go outside?" We talked about earlier. Did you go outside and expose yourself to sunlight? Did you do your breathing exercise this morning? She's 85 years old. Please do your breathing exercise. Please go outside, expose yourself. Please touch your feet on the ground outside. Let's talk again in 25 minutes. It's night and day, person. It's the correct method of, and these are all simple, what you said earlier. We were talking about biohacking. Biohack yourself. That doesn't cost you a dime to make your day 100% better.
I'm talking with Dr. Rafael Gonzalez. He is the Chief Development and Science Officer for rehealth.com. What's got you excited with rehealth and restem? You talked a little bit about it, Doctor, but where are we going? What's coming? What are we working on today?
We're working on some neat things. We're a cell therapy company. US, we have multiple clinical studies in autoimmune diseases. We're actually going into the longevity space with a different, not even a stem cell. We'll talk about that in just a second, which is a particular cell called the natural killer cell. And just like it's named, the natural killer cell is a cell in your body that is an amazing cell. It's one of the first responders in many things in your body. And we've licensed our technology here in the United States to a ex-US company called rehealth.com that helps individuals that need these therapies now, which makes it a neat opportunity. But that natural killer cell for me is the future of medicine. It's the cell in your body that you'll start hearing more and more about. It's in charge of three things. One is a mutated cell, cancer. It's the first responder to it. Two is viruses, one of the first responders to this in your body. And then three, what we're targeting is senescence. People are like, what the hell is senescence? I haven't heard of this. It's a zombie cell. It's an old cell. We call it a zombie because what do zombies do? They walk around causing havoc in your area. And then once they bite somebody, you become a zombie. Similarly, this cell in your body, this senescent cell in your body, what it does, it's a cell that has stopped duplicating, stopped dividing. And think of wrinkles of skin, gray hair, you lost the melanin, fibrosis of the lung, cells are no longer functioning correctly, just occupying space and causing havoc. These cells basically communicate with its surrounding, these senescent cells, with its surroundings and convert them into other zombies. Believe it or not, it's pretty crazy. It makes them old, makes them cause
The Walking Dead
too.
inside of us.
The Walking Dead are in our body, are inside of us.
Yeah.
And it happens with aging. With aging, it happens. And we can eliminate these in the immune system because it happens in your immune system. The concept is simple. You eliminate this senescence, these zombie cells in your immune system. Your immune system has to naturally regenerate by signals in there. We're missing cells in our body. Let me produce young progeny. Let me produce young cells to come out to our immune system and not function correctly. We published a paper on this in 2022, and it seemed to work, really well, which we're moving forward in the longevity sector of looking at, the context of clinical studies in the United States. You have to go with defined medical terms. Defined medical terms in aging are frailty and sarcopenia. Other ones are post-chemo, post-radiation. From doing chemo and radiation, you get buildup of these senescent cells. There's evidence out there, scientific evidence, that transpires because you're wiping out cells, good cells in your body. And that transpires. How do we eliminate that, clean and flush it out? Sort of like an oil change, a tune-up. How do we flush that out and give the system its own innate ability to heal?
Content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis.
Thanks for listening. This is Vibe Science. To learn more or watch full episodes, visit vibesciencepodcast.com. Here's to discovering your highest vibe.